Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll be having a look at the latest GFS, GEM, Ecmwf, GFS ensembles, and then we'll have a look at some temperature charts as well, as it is looking like that we could be seeing a warm-up towards the last week of April, and we could be seeing some decent temperatures after a very cold beginning and middle third of April. Do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you do like and subscribe. So currently we're looking at the GFS, and we've got a lot of northern blocking around, which is causing this sort of cool conditions. But because it's high pressure dominated, it's quite sunny and mainly dry for most areas, which means that in the day temperatures can rise to maybe 13-14 degrees, but at night they do drop away sharply. We've seen numerous amounts of overnight frosts over the last week or so, and that is going to continue. You can see at the moment we're in quite a cold air mass coming in from the east. Nothing brutally cold, but it means temperatures will drop to freezing at night quite widely, but in the day around 10 to 12, 13 degrees, feeling warm in that sun, but where you've got that easterly breeze, it does feel a little more chilly. As we run through that, you can see weather fronts do come in from the west over the next day or so. They don't make too much inroads. They do fizzle out quite a lot over western Scotland and parts of northwest England, Wales and Ireland as well. Many eastern areas and central areas seeing very, very little from these weather fronts, maybe just a little bit of cloud as they bump into the area of high pressure. Beyond that, you can see we maintain this sort of easterly flow, and the air mass still is not particularly mild. It's not cold either, so I do expect temperatures in the day to be at least maybe 13-14 degrees, but at night, still a decent chance that we do see temperatures drop away quite a lot. The air mass isn't as cold as it is in the moment, so I do expect temperatures perhaps to hover just above freezing, but in any countryside areas, and if we do see an altercation in this air mass, it could be dropping colder than that. Beyond that, as we head into the middle of next week, there is a chance that we do see another northerly wind. Now, at the moment, it hasn't got a lot of support from many of the ensembles and other models, but the GFS does show it briefly. The GEM does go for a full-blown northerly wind, and we'll show you that in a minute. But you can see it's just coming around high pressure as it changes its orientation. You see a bit of a northerly wind into parts of northeast Scotland would bring widespread overnight frosts again, and a few snow showers, especially to northern Scotland, northeastern Scotland and northeastern England. But if you have a look at the pressure charts, we're mainly under high pressure, so it will limit any of those shower risks. Beyond that, we're still in a reasonably cold air mass into later next week. But you can see the high pressure does start to move out to our east, and what it does is bring up south or southwesterly winds, which doesn't bring anything too warm up, but it brings up air considerably warmer than we've had at the moment, at 5 or so degrees warmer than we have at the moment, which does mean that temperature in the day could start to be rising to perhaps 15, 16, 17 or maybe 18 degrees, feeling warmer in the sunshine. At night, still chilly, but probably only getting down to maybe 4 or 5 degrees. And you can see quite a warm air mass does take over the whole country, and as we head towards day 10, we maintain out of that higher pressure with a southeasterly wind, nothing too cold, but nothing too warm at the same time, more spring-like though, with quite warm days, pleasant days, but not too cold at night. Beyond that, as we go into very uncertain time frames, generally maintaining the quite warm air mass, and we are still high pressure dominated. There is low pressure to our south, which could import a few thunderstorms or showers into the south of England, but nothing too substantial with that. Towards 384 hours, we do start to pull down over quite a potent northerly winds, and there's not too much cold air remaining in the Arctic. There's a little bit of cold air in there. You can't rule out a few wintry showers and an overnight frost or so into early May. With this pattern we have right now, blocking pattern, it can produce some quite warm conditions in summer and spring if you do get that blocking to our south or to east, bringing up southerly winds. But if we get that blocking back out in the Atlantic or back towards Scandinavia, we could, even though we may see a warm up in about a week or so's time, we could be going back colder once again towards the start of May. It'd be very interesting to see how long this pattern does last for, as it could be a bad sign for this summer. But again, don't want to rule it out at this stage. It was just really one to watch. If we now have a look at the GEM run, now as I said with the GEM, it does go very cold middle of next week, and you can see that high pressure moves up to Scandinavia, bringing in those easterly winds, pretty much the same as the GFS, but it's as we head to next Wednesday, so in about 5 or so days' time, we do pull down quite a potent northerly wind with a -5 line gets through most of the country, and that would produce quite a strong northerly winds with snow showers along it. We are in lower pressure, so again, plenty of showers around, especially in the east and the north. Can't rule out accumulations for the end of April, which is, well, truly exceptional, and where we do see persistent cloud and snow pretty much anywhere. Could see some low-level precipitation turning to snow and ice, sleet, graup, or whatever, wintry showers. So it'll be very interesting to see if that does come off. So you can see even towards day 5, there's a division between the GFS and GM, so it'll be interesting to see which one does come out. I definitely would prefer the warmer scenario where we just get grazed by the cold air towards Scotland. Don't really want another one of these northerly potent winds. Beyond that, we maintain with the northerly wind on the GM into Thursday, with quite cold air to our east, lower pressure out in the North Sea, could be driving in snow showers or more persistent snow with perhaps an occluded front, which could give quite persistent and maybe even accumulating snowfall. Now, I do say that lightly. I don't say that lightly because it would be extremely rare if this did happen. It has only happened twice in the last sort of 40 or 50 years. But widely accumulating snowfall is potentially going to happen if we do see this scenario. But again, it is definitely an outlier. It's really just one to watch. Beyond that, that cold air mass does eventually disintegrate as we head towards next weekend. At this point, the GFS is basking in nice, hot, sunny days, temperature getting up to 17, 18 degrees. But the GM, not quite. Towards the end of the run, though, we have sort of an easterly flow. It's nothing warm, but it's nothing too cold either. So maybe 15 degrees highs and maybe a bit more cold at night. But the GM is definitely wanting more high pressure and northern blocking towards Greenland. And I can see in this scenario, beyond day 10, pulling down northerly winds once again as this high pressure clears. So yeah, GM not showing very encouraging signs for anything particularly warm. Now, Ecmwf has very similar patterns to GM and GFS, but you can see as we head towards sort of day 5, day 6, so you never really pull in that proper northerly wind, and the cold air goes out to Scandinavia. There is some cold air within a colder air mass over the top of the UK, perhaps overnight frost, but nothing too cold. And as we head towards the next weekend, you do see that high pressure is easterly based, but it's pulling up quite a warm source coming from the Mediterranean. And that, especially for southern England and southwestern parts, western England, where we don't have a feed off the North Sea, it could get quite warm, maybe 18, 19 degrees again. So similar to the GFS. Slightly different way. GFS more of a south or southwesterly wind. Ecmwf a south or southeasterly wind, but both showing warmer temperatures next weekend. Beyond that, high pressure remains to our north with northern blocking, pulling in an easterly wind, quite a blustery easterly wind, but generally the air mass isn't too cold. It might feel a bit chilly on the east coast, but nothing too exceptional with that. So all the models have different outcomes towards day 7, day 10. 2 of them going for quite warm conditions towards day 7 and day 10. GM going for very cold conditions, but all showing northern blocking. All giving different outcomes considering the orientation of the high pressure, but all showing northern blocking, which is not an encouraging sign in sort of the longer term picture for warmer and drier conditions, as if this northern blocking does move out to Greenland, it could allow lows to get trapped over the top of the country. And although we've been very dry at the moment with the blocking over the top of us, this blocking moves ever so slightly further northwards, we could be seeing quite wet conditions and cold conditions returning. But if it does move southwards, like normally at this time of year, we're building a Euro high, we could see more south or southwesterly winds, like we're seeing perhaps for a brief spell with the GM and as with the Ecmwf and the GFS, which could bring a brief 2 or 3 day warmer spell. If we now have a look at the GFS ensembles for London, if we go to the AM50 HPN temperatures, you can see generally cold at the moment, and it slowly rise over the next week or so. You see those colder outliers with that northerly wind coming in middle of next week. Not many of the ensemble members are going for it. A minority, maybe 5 or 6, majority maintaining a warming trend until we sort of peak at maybe 5 degrees at AM50 HPA, which is not exceptional, but it's a few degrees above average, and temperatures could climb to 17, 18 degrees, quite pleasant. Some going even warmer than that, but very few going colder than average. And the longer term, though, precipitation does pick up again, and we do go colder again, back to around average. But again, it's too difficult to really tell outside of day 10 at this stage. I really wouldn't say with any confidence what we're going to see, especially with northern blocking. It's very unpredictable, and just given slight orientation changes, could go from a northerly wind to a southeasterly wind, which is drastically different air masses at this time of year. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with that. If we do have a look at the dew points, you can see generally, although it's quite cold at the moment, it's quite mild, and we do see temperatures quite widely above freezing for dew points, which means frost should hopefully be cut out more as we head into the longer term. Finally, we'll have a look at the GFS temperatures, if we go to the max temperatures, and we will have a look at what we could be seeing over the next sort of week or so as we head potentially to warmer conditions next week. See, today we've seen maybe 11-12 degrees, but it felt a lot warmer in that sunshine, and if you've been exposed by that sunshine, it's felt quite warm indeed, and quite even hot. Tonight, though, temperatures drop away again to around freezing, maybe 1, 2, 3 degrees. We've got more cloud in the west. Temperatures stay a bit above freezing, but generally still quite a cold night. Tomorrow, very similar to today, maybe 12, 13 degrees, but quite sunny, especially further eastwards and in the south. As we head into Monday, again, very, very similar patterns. Temperatures perhaps maybe a degree or so warmer. Again, temperatures are creeping up today before they peak, hopefully next weekend. Beyond that, again, quite cold nights. But again, it's still picking up, a couple of degrees picking up. So maybe 5, 6 degrees as the lows into Tuesday. Tuesday, again, 14, 15 degrees. As we head into Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, you can see that northeasterly wind, and you can see colder conditions to the north and northeast. But again, not making too far south, and the south maintains quite warm conditions. And by Wednesday, maybe 14, 15 degrees, and widely above about 9 or 10 degrees. Beyond that, again, overnight frost into Thursday with a colder air mass. But as we head into the weekend, it's looking like even though nights could be quite cold, we could be seeing sort of 15, 16 degrees on Friday. Quite widely, maybe even 17 degrees with the Fern effect, 17 degrees in Scotland. As we head into Saturday, quite a cold night again under the high pressure, but only 4 or 5 degrees, not quite cold enough for overnight frost. As we head into Saturday, there's potential for quite widely 15, 16, 17. I wouldn't be surprised to see 18 or 19 degrees in there if we do see sufficient sunshine. Again, not too cold overnight, maybe 3, 4 degrees. But not quite getting down to freezing. And then Sunday, going to be quite warm indeed again, maybe 17, 18 degrees, peaking around 3 to 6 p.m. Again, with that Fern effect, you can see 19 degrees perhaps in parts of northern Scotland as air rises and sinks over hills, compresses, increases the temperature. Beyond that, it does generally cool down a little bit, but still maybe 15, 16 degrees on Monday before temperatures do start to drop away a little bit. Maybe still generally 17, 18 degrees. Actually, this GFS run does go a bit warmer towards the end of the run. Mainly in the south and southeast, maybe 20 degrees we're looking at. But again, we're going into the much uncertain time frame, and this is where I said it. Beyond day 10, you can't really trust it. Mainly only looking at what's going to be happening over the next sort of week or so. Because if you go back and have a look at the ensembles, if we go back to the NVPHP temperatures and precipitation, you can see the operational run beyond sort of day 10 is becoming an outlier with its warmer conditions. So where it did say 20 degrees at day 10, again, I'd take that with a pinch of salt. But definitely perhaps towards next weekend, it definitely looking like we could see quite a widespread warm-up. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.